Pinpoint Weather Center meteorologist Claire Anderson.
It is cloudy and 45 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Royteen.
Subscribe to us on YouTube for our can't miss clips. Cairo Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk, powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on Cairo Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio and streaming on Facebook Live. Welcome. And yes, if it sounds like I have an extra little pep in my step here, it's because we already have a great show put together. And then I just heard the beginning of your newscast.
I know, I could see you getting riled up.
Okay, so Bob Ferguson has now filed his 53rd lawsuit against the Trump administration. At some point, do some stalker laws come into play against Bob Ferguson? I mean, this is like mentally...
Is he going for the record?
Demented stalker stuff. And then here's the other thing. So he sent out this press release. And here's the headline. AG Ferguson sues to stop Trump administration from using Washington courthouses to snare immigrants with no violent history. Are they going after immigrants? Immigrants who are here in this country legally, who have gone through the immigration process? Because they're not. He's lying. That headline is a lie. They're going after illegals. Huge difference. You can call them undocumented aliens. You can call them illegals. But they are not immigrants. And for Bob Ferguson to now file a lawsuit, and then what? They're exempt from the law? So federal law enforcement cannot enforce a valid warrant against an illegal if they're near a courthouse? So you're telling all of us, all of the citizens of this country, that we have two sets of laws. Because I tell you what, if one of us citizens, if we go to the courthouse and we have some outstanding warrant and a cop recognizes us, they're going to pick us up on that outstanding warrant. But according to our Attorney General, I just heard this in your newscast, but according to our Attorney General, we're going to have two sets of laws for citizens who are going to the courthouse, who are subject to the ramifications of any outstanding warrants we have, and for illegals who go to the courthouse who will somehow be exempt from federal law enforcement. I mean, this isn't just stalkerish. This is mentally ill. This is such radicalism that it blows my mind that people don't see how outrageous it is to have two sets of laws. But that's what happens around here. If, some businessman is out with his buddies on Friday night and he walks down the street with an open beer, he can be cited for that because he's got some money in the bank. But if a heroin addict wants to shoot up on the streets of downtown Seattle, well, that's okay. We have two sets of laws. If somebody's crossing the middle of a block to get to their office building downtown, they can get a jaywalking ticket. But if climate agenda protesters want to lay down in the middle of the street and gridlock the region for 8 hours with PVC pipes duct taped to their arms, well, that's okay because they're on the right side of social justice. I mean, seriously, we've gone insane. So I propose, I am calling for any existing stalker laws to be implemented against Attorney General Bob Ferguson, who's got a screw loose. He's the most dangerous politician I've ever seen in my quarter century doing this show. He is, I saw one of his campaign videos. Some listener sent it to me when he was first running for Attorney General, and he said, one thing I will never be as Attorney General is partisan. And he's the most partisan politician I've ever seen in my life. I should find that. I'll find that for you. But, okay, so So I guess this is the new law in Washington that, according to our Attorney General, if you're a citizen who is not a street drug addict, all laws apply to you. If you are a drug vagrant who comes here from another state, if you are an illegal who comes here from another country, you are exempt from many of our laws. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable what radicalized leftism has done to, the brains. This isn't just like, it's a misguided policy. This is like some amoeba that is slowly destroying the brains and the logical thinking process of everybody who thinks Bob Ferguson is, because he's going after the Cheeto president. We love this. My goodness. It's one of the most ridiculous things no. They'll have something even more ridiculous tomorrow or 2 hours from now. With that as mere prelude, let's get to the big lead.
The Big Lead. Top story.
For 20 years, I have closely chronicled the tsunami that's about to wash over every single family, every single individual in the state of Washington. This afternoon, between 1 and 3 o'clock, they are going to debate, perhaps even vote, on taking a next step toward making every single street, every inch of every street in our state, a toll road. And people have accused me in the past of hyperbole. They've said, no way, Monson. No way what you're saying could ever possibly come true. But 20 years ago, I told you it was their 20-year plan. Because I had the documents. I had the mole who was in the planning meetings. And here we are 20 years later, and it's unfolding exactly. I even told you, in 1999, I told you, 2019 is when they're going to try to make this happen. Well, maybe it's going to be pushed to 2020 now. But they're voting today to make every inch of every road a toll road. Now, they don't call it that, of course. They call it paper mile, where they say because people have been so efficient with electric cars and more fuel-efficient vehicles that we're losing gas tax revenues. We do have the second highest gas tax in the United States. But they say we have to get even more money. And so they've been pitching this pay per mile. Now, this is an unbelievable invasion of your and my privacy when this happens, because they say, and this is such a blatant lie, because, again, I know what the plan is. I've known it for longer than almost anybody. They say, well, we might just do an odometer reading at the end of the year. Yeah, that sounds really convenient. Be as convenient as going to those vehicle emissions places, right? We'll just do an odometer reading, and you just have to go into a government location once a year, and they'll check your odometer, and then you'll be sent a bill for how many miles you've driven. That's not what they're going to do. What they are going to do is insist. And this is why you hear these commercials all the time for the Seattle Tunnel. You got to get that good-to-go pass. You got to get it because you can save $2 every time you drive through the tunnel. Why do you think there's this massive ad campaign to get a transponder in everybody's vehicle? Well, it's because they're going to put a transponder in everyone's car. And this is getting you comfortable with it. Oh, if you want to drive the hot lanes on 405, on 167, if you want to drive across 520, if you want to use the new tunnel, you got to have a transponder. Just getting you comfortable. It's all been part of this plan because they're going to insist that every single one of us has a transponder. So I'll ask the question again, because I've told you for a long, long time, this will be the fight on your behalf and mine of my radio career. If we allow this to happen, because here's how it's going to play out. They will be able to track every inch you travel. And do you think when you've got an absolute partisan hack like Bob Ferguson as Attorney General, do you trust that people like him wouldn't abuse the data, wouldn't use information about where people that he disagrees with politically travel? Because I have no doubt in my mind that he would. That our government cannot be trusted. But then beyond that, then once they get the transponders in, it's just going to be 2.9 cents a mile. And they're not going to eliminate the gas tax. It's not going to be a dollar for dollar trade-off. It will be an increase. But once they get the transponder, then it becomes, you're driving between 6 and 9 a.m. Well, it's not 2.9 cents a mile. It's $2.90 a mile if you drive in morning drive, because we got to get cars off the road. We hate cars. We hate drivers. We hate families that must use an automobile to get to where they're going. You're driving an afternoon drive. Our roads are too crowded. Yeah, that's going to be, you want to go into downtown Seattle? Because right now it's really crowded in the afternoons from Northgate through downtown. It's going to cost you $15 if you want to drive that. But you won't even feel it. We'll just put it on your transponder bill, and it'll automatically be deducted from your bank account. You won't even notice it. It'll be just the cost of 14 lattes a day. That's what's being debated this afternoon in Olympia from 1 to 3 o'clock. I want your help. I want your pledge. Go ahead and text me, 98973. This, you and me together, this is going to be the fight of our financial lives. Because once they get this, you are going to see families soaked for over $1,000 a year, and perhaps several thousand if you are one who must use your car for business, for family, for getting your kids to soccer, for racing home right when you get off work so you can coach your daughter's basketball team, whatever it is. Once they get this, it will hit you for thousands of dollars a year, because the social engineering part of all of this is they hate cars. They hate people who use cars. They want everyone forced out of financial necessity to abandon their car and take light rail. But then my commute goes from 25 minutes to an hour and a half. Then I can't coach my kids' sports teams. Doesn't matter. You shouldn't have had kids. We are a childless state here in Washington. Fight of our lives. We must not allow tolling every inch of every road to happen. We're in this for the long run. But this will be, because people have asked me, how come you've never done a big rally where you get thousands of people to show up and, band together about some of the things you talk about on the show? I talk about it on the show, and I'm appreciative and respectful of your time. But this is one where we'll storm the streets. We'll march to the Capitol, because this is going to screw people to the tune of thousands of dollars a year. We must not let this happen. Next up in the big lead.
The Big Lead. Your tax dollars at work.
Hey, speaking of which, and just when, the people of this state said we want $30 car tabs, government revenge continues. Up in Everett, they had a council meeting this week where they are thinking about adding red light cameras to 7 intersections. And I listened to a little bit of this meeting. They had the whole hour on. It was one of the most boring meetings I've ever heard in my entire life. But they talked about that this is about public safety. And I will make an offer to any Everett politician who's in favor of this. It's the same one I made to a bunch of lying Linwood politicians about 7-8 years ago. If you're a longtime listener, you might remember when that Linwood councilman called in just shaking with fury because I called him a liar. Any politician who tells you that red light cameras are about public safety is a stinking, bold-faced liar. Red light cameras are about revenues, and Everett wants more money. They want revenge because people voted for 976, and I'll tell you how I know that. When the legislature first approved red light cameras way back when, they said, but it can't be more, the fine can't be more than the price of a parking ticket. And parking tickets were about $40. Everyone said, well, okay, so somebody takes a free right turn at an intersection, it cost them $40. Well, what's every city done? They found one parking ticket in the state, and I believe the infraction is for blocking an alley when an emergency vehicle needs to access it. And that it was like $150, $175, whatever it is. And they said, oh, that's a parking ticket. So that's what our red light camera fine will be. And so you just find ways, again, to screw people. 90% of red light camera tickets are people who come up to the intersection, and instead of making that complete stop before the free right turn, they look to the left, they keep coasting at 2-3 miles an hour, what we used to call a California stop, and then they just kind of roll and take that right-hand turn. That's where the red light tickets come from. It is about nothing but revenues. Any Everett politician who is supporting this, if you say it's about public safety, I, Dori Monson, declare you a liar. And I invite you publicly to come on my show and debate this with me. All right? So I got to look out for my listeners here because everybody's coming after our banks. And that is your Big Lead.
The Big Lead on Cairo Radio.
Coming up next, Jay Inslee sent out a tweet about a climate change study. I've had a lot of skepticism, as you know, about climate change over the years. I will tell you, this is the most ridiculous, insane study I have ever seen in my entire life. I mean, you will not believe the details of this when I give it to you up next on the Dori Monson Show.